So
Pretty good.
we have the typical crew with Andrew, Brian, newcomer Ali, which is a friend of theirs. Hellcry is here,
Hi. Hello.
and a special guest that I've been alluding to for a couple of weeks. It's Brittany Lauda. She's a anime voice actress and voice director.
Hi,
I hope
that's me.
I said your name right.
You know you did, and it's funny because a lot of people say it wrong, and this is the second time today that someone has said it correctly, and I'm like, oh my god, I didn't get lauded. So
I
thank
was
you.
about to say Lauda. Is that how they?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. We're just kind of hanging out for a minute, let people come in. I gotta find the. So usually I hit start on OBS and then the chat just pops up, but I'll just do a pop out on Twitch because that's the only one that people actually chat on. Which, that works out for me, to be honest. Oh, there it is. So, with a new week come new games. What has everyone been playing or doing?
I've been playing Persona 5 Strikers. It's pretty good. I'm liking it.
What is that exactly?
It's Persona 5 2 with action gameplay.
Oh, so you said Persona 5 2 with action gameplay. So are we talking like Dragon Quest Heroes here, basically?
Well, so I've never played any of those games, but to me, from what I know about like sort of like Hyrule Warriors, Dragon Quest Heroes genre, it seems like it's a lot more involved. It's basically an action RPG with that sort of like Mushu gameplay. I think that's how you say that word. If I
Yeah,
said that
it's,
wrong.
it's
It's Musa.
Muso, yeah, Muso.
What did whatever I said was probably.
You say Mishu,
Said Mushu.
You said the
Do you have an
dragon from
avatar
Mulan.
character?
Mukal says, "Yo, what's up, Mukal?" I hope
Oh,
I
it's the
said that name
dragon.
right.
It's the dragon from Mulan.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was.
The
I was
Mulan
gonna
I
say
watched
it.
didn't
I
have a
thought.
dragon in it. What are you
You know,
talking
that's our boy Eddie Murphy.
Well, we actually got 11 people already in here, so I guess we'll just go ahead and roll with this. I'm gonna turn
I
the
was trying to
game
host
volume
on
down.
my channel, but it keeps telling me that I'm not allowed to.
Any particular reason?
It just says
Oh, I-
command not allowed.
I could try hosting this as well.
I'm too obscure for you to host.
Maybe you guys have to follow each other?
I doubt that,
I
but
don't follow anyone that I host, so I don't know how to Twitch.
that's weird.
Let's see.
Okay, let me get the game showing. I should probably definitely make sure that's a thing.
Yeah, okay, it worked. It finally is hosting. Yay!
Transition. There we go. There's Mountain Town and its beautiful green glory. All right. So if you'd like to, Brittany, you can introduce yourself and kind of what you do and who you are and all that.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Brittany Lauda. I did the voice direction for Y2K. I also played a variety of different characters you might find in the game. We were talking earlier about the mall rats, and I played some of those. But I also voice act for a bunch of different things. I'm Satoko in Higurashi Go. I'm Ichigo in Darling in the Franxx. I'm Yuzuriha in Dr. Stone. Rico in Maiden Abyss. I'm in Yeast Monstrum Nox as Xavier and Iris. I'm Audrey in Honey Pop. And I'm Thrio in Grand Blue Fantasy, to name a few things. And I also direct stuff. I'm directing a game called, anime called Akudama Drive right now, which is really cool. It's over on Funimation. And I've directed Legend of the Galactic Heroes both seasons. I did a little bit of assistant directing on that time I got reincarnated as a slime.
I need to watch that still.
And if you are into trashy, pervy harem shows, I directed Hensky and put way too much effort into that show, and it actually came out really freaking funny. So those are a few things I've done.
I love hearing your sort of like biography Because when I met you, like you had done a lot of really cool stuff, but now you've just like blown up. And it's so
Yeah.
awesome. So proud of you.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we met, like I was still, I don't know, I was still in college, so like a lot of the stuff I had done was still coming to, I guess, like fruition. It wasn't as big as the stuff I get to do now, and like I was talking the other day to someone, and I was like, man, if I could tell my past self like what I would be doing now, it'd be really freaking crazy. Um, because like I was a huge fan of the When They Cry series, like Higurashi and Umineko, and to get to be a part of that story now in a remake is freaking insane. And so like I don't know, I just think about like like when we started working on Y2K, like if I could tell that version of Brittany like, hey, you're gonna be in Higurashi one day, like it it'd be pretty wild.
Did you say they're doing a remake of that?
Higurashi, yes. So there's an anime
okay.
right now called Higurashi Go, and it's really cool. I don't want to give any spoilers,
Right, of course.
if you are familiar with the story at all, I would definitely say to check it out.
I should probably check out Higurashi. That was really popular around my friends in high school. I never watched that. The closest I think I probably ever got was to something like that was probably Elfen Lied.
You can actually get the first chapter of that game for free on Steam right now. The creators are like, basically as long as like COVID is around, they're like, you can just get the first chapter for free. It's on us.
Oh, I'm dumb. Let's
Yeah,
stop over
so-
here.
It's been a very long time since I've played it, and I really would like to play it again.
So I don't know what happened earlier, but the game froze and crashed. So just
I saw that. I was hoping that's not what you were gonna say.
I gave it a second. I was like, okay, this isn't happening. All right. While she's talking, I'm just gonna reset.
Crashes.
Yeah,
It's
this
flawless.
game never crashed. I crashed. That's actually what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was streaming to 4 different platforms while also having the collective power of this super panel.
And
You don't have CPU power for it.
and honestly, sometimes the people I run into and do shows with, it does feel a little surreal sometimes. Because I just started contacting people and talking to people, and yeah, here I am doing streams with people who do like actual cool stuff.
That was one of the things that surprised me so much when I first started getting into game development, how it's just a matter of just trying to do it. How you just have to put yourself out there and try and make it happen, and how like if you can make a connection with another person, like you can usually see some progress in your career through that, and just how much it is on like a small community. It's really crazy.
Right.
No,
Right.
that's definitely like really good advice. Like I think one of the best things I was ever told at like the age of like 12 was like just try and do it. Just try and like go into that place you're not supposed to, because like the worst that's gonna happen is you're gonna get like kicked out and you're back at square one, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's like that with a lot of careers. It's just like you have to put yourself into it. You just have to go for it.
Yeah.
And like just keep like trying to knock on every single door you can, because eventually something will work out. I was talking to my husband the other night about like work and stuff, and I was like, man, like in one day alone I conquered and got to be a part of 2 things that I was trying to be in for like years, like over 7 years as a professional, and like finally just like when I wasn't even trying to do them anymore, it's like, oh, here are 2 gigs that you wanted back, like 2 franchises you want to be a part of, like, and it just eventually like comes together if you keep knocking on those doors and following through on things.
Yeah. It also just helps if you're like chill, like yeah, like
No.
like I've like I don't know, like I've been in careers where I like have like had to hire people before, and like for the most part, usually the person that I hire, like if you seem like a pleasant person to work with, and like you obviously are qualified to get the job done, like I will hire you over like anybody that's like, please dude, just like give me a chance, I'm like super cool, you know.
Yeah. Maybe don't walk up to someone at a con and like lick their hand. That kind of
Yeah.
Why did you have to bring that up? Now I have to remember that happened.
stuff.
I was like, that happened to one of my friends. Who did it happen to?
Yeah, it was the last convention I was at before COVID. And then I was like, I'm done with conventions for a while, but now I'm like, I really want to go to a convention.
Oh my god.
Purple
No,
comment says, "Wait, what?"
Okay, so at
Oh.
at one of the PAXs, I'm guessing it was PAX East 2019.
Sounds right.
Someone came up to me at one of the after parties, and they're like, they were not a developer. They were someone who got into a developer publisher party somehow.
Connections.
And they're like, "Oh, you worked on Y2K, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And at that point, I like wasn't really sure if that was a good thing or bad thing to say yeah to. It was like a really turbulent week. But I was, of course, honest about it. I wasn't about to like pretend not to be. And the guy starts singing "The Machine and the Crow" at me when I say yeah, and he's like, "You wrote that song, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Can I shake your hand?" And I'm like, "Sure." So when I go to shake his hand, he leans in and licks from like my knuckles to the start of my wrist really fast.
Oh.
And I'm just like, that is not okay. This is not all right.
I've been meaning to ask you, did he steal some of your power?
Yeah, I'm like 20% less competent since he did that.
all
It's like
messed
some
up in the
weird
head now.
ritual that was performed.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, that's not cool. Don't do that." He's like, "Oh, come on." I'm like, and "Oh, come on, that's your response to 'don't lick me'? Jeez."
You know how in
Cool.
Hades, because I've been playing Hades recently, and like in
Yeah, that game
Hades,
is amazing.
like you can get a boon from chaos, but like you have to do like for 4 encounters you must do blank, and then you get a buff. Like it's like how that was his deal with the devil. Like you must lick 4 people's hands, but then you consume their creativity.
That sounds.
I would watch that movie.
Yeah. I need to go ahead and get that game too.
Thinking
That's
of PAX, that was where we first met, right, Brittany?
Yeah, I was still in college at the time. I was about to graduate though, so it was like PAX 2014, and I was
think it would
walking
be.
around the like indie hall, and I was just like checking out games there, and I remember seeing like a very very early version of Y2K. And,
Very early.
and I don't believe I talked to either of you there.
Yeah,
I
think
was
you
like,
did maybe.
well, I don't think it was Bridget either. It was like someone else, because they were like not like. I don't think I ever saw them again, but I've seen Bridget and I've seen you too.
Could
Oh.
that have been
It could have been Ian, right?
Ian or
I think it was
possibly
Ian's wife.
Yes,
I think
Amy
it was.
would have been
Yeah.
Amy. Yeah, Amy
and
always
she didn't have all that much she could tell me about the game. And at the moment, like, you guys were busy with something, so she was like, you can find out more of the game here. And so, like, I just watched for a little while, and then I was like, I'm gonna hit these people up and see what's up. This seems like a cool thing, like, and it's marketed as, like, a sort of like an RPG sort of thing, and the bright colors really were interesting to me. So I remember emailing, and then you just started a conversation with me, Andrew, over email. We spoke, and you were like, I checked out your voiceover. It's really cool. I'll let you know if we decide to go for a voiceover in the game. And then a few months later, you were like, hey, do you do casting and directing? And then that was that.
Yeah, well, it was interesting because Brian and I hadn't even considered the possibility of voice acting, but when we got a publisher, one of the things like we were trying to like leverage what we could do to the publisher, like we could add voice acting, and we didn't really expect them to go for it because it's such a costly thing, and they're like, oh no, we definitely want voice acting in the game. So when they gave us the sort of go-ahead and they were willing to accept the budget for voice acting, I was like, oh, I need to make this a reality somehow. Like, then I remembered that I had your card, and I messaged you, and I was really happy to see how much you engaged with the game. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna show up and do the thing. Like, you were reading the script as I was writing it. You were giving me like feedback and commentary. Like, you threw yourself so hardcore into the project that I was like, I'm gonna hire this person for everything. This is insane. Like,
I
nobody
remember-
goes above and beyond.
I was still working at this like rip-off GameStop called Play and Trade.
Oh,
And,
playing
I've been
trade.
there. Yeah.
It was the one I worked at is no longer open. It was like failing heavily at the time I worked there. And
Hopefully it wasn't mine.
I don't know. No, I don't think so. It was in Huntington, Long Island.
No, that's
And,
not mine.
And I remember going to the back of the store and I would just print all of the script pages you would send me, and I would sit there and read them and make notes on them. And I would just be like, I'm not spending my own money. This place is gonna shut down anyway. He's lost a lot of ink and paper. I'm just gonna keep doing this.
Right.
And so I would just print it there and read it there and take notes and stuff. And I remember I had like a binder with the script, and I would, when we did the directing sessions, like the commute from where I lived to where you guys were set up was like 2 or 3 hours, and I would just like bring my binder with the script, and I would like study up on the material and like what we did the day before, and like what we were going to do, the scenes we were going to do on the train ride.
Oh yeah,
and
I
stuff.
forgot that you had brought your own binder. That's really interesting. 'Cause
Yeah.
we also had binders, so then it's
And see, like
Yeah.
that's even just like a tip of the iceberg of how prepared like you actually were. Like, when I say like you really engaged with it, like you engaged with it more than some of the other people working on the game. So, it was great because there's so much text in the game, and there's just, it was such an overwhelming prospect of doing the voice acting. Like, how many days did we record?
We spent 2 weeks doing like non-stop group records. And we didn't have everyone every day. The first day of recording, I remember we did 9 hours of recording every narration cue of Alex's.
And that was when, and then we found out like months later that like Jose had positioned the microphone wrong, so you got the reflection from the music stand that was metal, and it just made the voiceover just sound like horrible. And he like, oh man, thinking back on that, what a crazy time.
I also remember like there were several narration cues that you and I decided we were going to scrap because we thought it just makes Alex like more on the unrelatable side than the relatable side. Like, it was like overly pretentious, and we struck through them in my binder and your binder. And I remember Jose coming to me like a year later and being like, I can't find this cue, what did you do with it? And I was like, what cue? And he was like, it's this one. I was spending the last 2 days searching all the files for it. And I was like,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
heavy sigh. I'm like, we cut that cue. Andrew and I discussed in the moment when we cut that cue, and he's like, what?
Oh,
It's
man,
like, well, I
No.
guess you didn't update your binder, did you?
Gotta have your binder. Gotta have your binder.
But like, I feel like that's why now I'm so much more like, I will use more digital things that we can share. Like, one of the things that has come out of COVID, I feel like, is like collaborative tools of like all of us using like linked together like sources. Like, I will use like Google Docs, or I'll use OneDrive and update everything and run things off of the same OneDrive. So like, the project I'm working now, the 4 different computers we use for it are all linked to the same cloud, so anything we change saves there.
It's pretty useful.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Instead of like a binder where you might lose it. So, sorry, I'm eating Pocky.
Good old Pocky. So, little known fact, Pocky's great, but you know what's better than Pocky?
Hello Panda.
Yes,
Oh,
Hello
yeah.
Panda's great too, but
Fuck
also, I haven't seen it here yet. I saw something like it, but in Japan, when I lived there, it was called Topo. And it was like Pocky, but inverted, with the stuff on the inside instead of the outside. Oh, it was so good.
That sounds pretty good.
They have some really good snacks over in Japan.
I agree.
But
I'd love to like If I ever actually go to Japan, which I want to after COVID, because like I'm sick of staying in my house for like the last year, I'd love to go to one of those Kit Kat stores, and like one of the ones I'm talking about, where they have like
Yeah.
every flavor of Kit Kat imaginable.
I think that's more
I
of a
bought my
recent
dad
thing.
wasabi Kit Kats.
Oh really? What was that like?
Those are weird.
They were weird because they tasted like the non-spicy part of wasabi, like the horseradish taste,
right.
but not like the kick to it.
It's wasabi without the
He
pain.
liked them, I think.
It sounds like it could be kind of good.
Horseradish and chocolate, yeah.
So as
That's
far
what I
as
want to eat.
your career, like, do you prefer acting or directing?
I feel like it's such a like there was so long where I would say I always would say I prefer directing, and then sometimes it switches and it's like no, sometimes I like to act more. And since I'm coming out of a project that's been like taking over all of my time, I'm like, oh well, I would like to act a little bit more. But then I'm sure after like 2 weeks of not working on this project, I'm gonna be like, man, I really wish I was directing. So I feel like there's like a happy medium involved. But what I like the most about directing is like you're creating the scope of the project, like you're setting the tone, and you really get to like dive into the whole thing. And I like getting to familiarize myself with the entire world that I'm going to be working in, and getting to choose what to disclose to different actors to inform their choices. One of my favorite projects I've worked on is called Legend of the Galactic Heroes, and it's based off of a 1980s novel series. And there was a
Did you work on the original Galactic Heroes, like a new dub of like the old series, or you mean like the newer series that came
it's
out?
the new series, because
Okay.
the old series doesn't have music and effects, so it can't be dubbed. Music and effects are like the soundtrack, the sound effects.
Like it doesn't have those like separately to like.
Yes,
like,
they were apparently lost in a fire.
What?
With a bunch of old production materials, which is why, like, if you watch Legend of the Galactic Heroes streaming on High Dive, there are all of a sudden moments where it's like much more high res, and it doesn't like really look the same, and they had to like redraw those moments because they lost the original ones, and it's like kind of jarring at times. But I worked on the new one, Dino Atesa, and my notes were just like, I had the entire book highlighted, I had notes in the side, I had post-its all over the place, and one of our leads, I purposefully did not disclose to him what happens to his character and his character's best friend. And he would be like, we just live happily ever after and we conquer the universe together, me and Kierscheist, right? You know the series at all, you might know that that's not the case. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's not seen it or read it.
You want to get that visceral reaction from him?
Yeah, so like when things took a turn and he realized the fate of his character and the characters alongside him, like we did the entire scene at once. And I had the other actors recorded before him. I had him recorded last. And there's like this minute of his character like watching what happens. And I'm like, make sure you play that for him. And so when we came in for it and he saw everything that had happened, it was just really raw. And I remember we finished recording that scene for the first time, and he was like, no, no.
In the chat,
like, that's the truth.
in the
That's
chat,
what
someone
happened.
asked, is that a standard practice in the voice acting industry?
To not disclose things.
Yeah, to just like trick people and stuff like
Well,
that.
it's not like it was trickery. He could have at any moment looked it up himself.
True,
'Cause, like,
yeah.
the subs were out, right? So he could have just been like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
like, this is really cool. Let me.
He could have watched it.
True.
And I told the actor who plays Yang, one of the other leads, I told him his character's entire story. It's just that I chose because of how this one actor was, and we were friends too. We still are friends. I was like, I feel like this is gonna be more impactful for him if I just string him along. And if he ever wants to look it up, he can look it up. He never did.
Yeah.
I
he
hate
had
this
no
mini
idea.
game so much. It's
This
so
is
hard.
fair game.
And I wouldn't say it's like standard practice or not standard practice, because some directors won't really give you any of that background information. Some will give you everything. Some will just be like, something tragic happens. And some will be like, oh, well, you'll see. When I was working on Darling in the Franxx, my director, Clifford Chapin, who plays Michael, he had given me just like completely wrong information about this one episode, because he got the episodes early, and he's like, man, like, I can't believe it. This character dies in the next episode, and it's like so sad. And so like I came in thinking that this was the truth. He's like, no. This is not true. I lied. I was joking. I like fully believed it.
That's brutal.
So
I
yeah.
I think I remember like you saying it's specific for the person. I remember an interview I watched with the sound director for Halo, where he was talking about some voice actors they want bare minimum. Just tell me what I need to do, and get me in, get me out.
Alex.
And then it's good to see that other people are like more involved with, you know.
I think it's kind of like a dependent on the project, the time, the budget, and the people. There are some older actors in particular, like when I'm working with old men, I find that they ask me 20 questions about everything.
Really?
They want to know every little detail, and I'm like, dude, it's just one line, you're a bit. And he's like, what's my character's motivation? Like,
They really
what-
want to get somewhere with this.
they
Do
want to,
you-
like, yeah.
Yeah.
But do you like working with people who like kind of like ask a bunch of questions like that? Like the people who obviously not the ones that are like, 20 questions and they just say one line. But I'm talking about like, do you like it when people are more involved? Or do you like it when they just like get it? They're just like.
I think it depends. I think that I like working with people who are engaged in the art, and like are there to create. And I think that's what I liked so much about working on this current project I'm doing, Akudama Drive, is that a lot of the cast are close friends of mine. And then the cast that is not, the cast that was not pre-cast and was auditioned, are really dedicated to it. Like, they really wanted to create art, and some of them, it was their first time doing a Funimation dub, or their first time doing a dub, or their first time doing anime, and so it was something that we could all like zone in on and create. And I like that aspect. I like getting to work with people who are passionate and want to like create a character. And that's something I always enjoy, is like building scenes. And with Akudama Drive in particular, as we're reaching like the end of the series and we were starting to get to people's like final appearance as their characters, we would book people for extra time so we can spend that crafting and figuring out and watching the scenes back and being like, do we like this? What do we want to try here? How do we want to approach this? There's a clip that Funimation posted the other night of my husband's character, who is a serial killer, and like we spend a lot of time like making that nuance, and all the reactions have been like, wow, that is so chilling, it's so scary, it's freaky.
That I was gonna say that serial killer is like a really fun character. The one for Akuma Drive.
Yeah, Akudama Drive.
Yeah. No, I think that they're cool. Yeah, excited to see what your husband does.
Yeah, well, there's a clip on Funimation's YouTube that they put up, and on Twitter and Facebook, and it's like probably one of my favorite scenes in the show, and it was really cool.
I watched it even though I hadn't gotten there yet in the show, I don't think. But he did such a good job. It was so good.
Yeah, it was really cool, and like we just spent a lot of time like, one, we like went over the scripts to try and like make sure that the like mouth shapes and like and everything were gonna match really well because it's really well animated in the Japanese. So we really wanted to make sure that even before we touched it as actors and directors, that we were matching that. And then yeah, we spent a lot of care on just like building that moment with both him and the other actress who plays Swindler, the female character, in the scenes, and like really capturing the horror element of it, and the switch of the character and stuff. So yeah, I like to work with people who are passionate.
Wait,
Yeah, yeah. No, that's like cool though. I'm excited to see. Let me say, because I liked that show. I'm a big fan of Danganronpa. So like finding out that the guy who did that also did this show, I checked it out. I really enjoyed it. So I'd love to see it again in English as well and see everybody's performance.
so dumb question. How do I get off the skateboard?
Climb
You-
the ladder to your left.
Okay.
You need to drop Panda off the ledge so he'll stop you.
Okay.
Brittany, what do you remember about casting Y2K?
I remember having a phone call with you and writing down like all sorts of notes about the characters. I remember one person emailing me back when I sent out the auditions and being like, these audition sides are way long. Like, I feel like I'm auditioning for an audiobook. And I was like, that's because you essentially are.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't understand how much Alex narrates. Like, we need to know you can make this interesting. And yeah, I will always remember that one person being like, I don't want to, like, I am trying to give you professional advice and tell you that this is wrong. And I'm like, no. Like,
That's what the character is. The character is this guy who thinks he's in a book and constantly talks like he is.
Right.
That's what Alex's whole shtick is. It's what the conceit of the character is.
yeah, and so I remember that being like really important. Like something we discussed. We were like, we need to make sure we have like a dialogue scene of Alex where to see how he would treat like a conversation, but we also need to have like this like narrative section. And I remember like what made it a person's audition in the like trash pile versus like, oh, maybe we'd consider them, is if we were able to like be engaged. Like if I could sit and listen to that person talk and not be like, anyway, what am I eating for lunch today? Like, like if I was all of a sudden thinking about something else or like annoyed at their voice, it was like, okay, that's not gonna happen. I also remember just like not having as big of a casting pool as I have now. And like some characters were really difficult to cast. Like I feel like Chandra was really hard to decide on. But like Claudio was obvious. Like the second Anthony opened his voice, it's like that's our Claudio.
Yeah, he
The second I
fits it.
sent him the audition, I was like, that guy's gonna be Claudio. Like,
Yeah, he just knocked out of the park. Like
the entire
remember
time, he's
the-
fantastic.
the audition side for Claudio was his Maha Shoujo Haru Nushimai.
Oh, really?
That's what his audition was, and
It's a
I
hell
was
of an
like, if
audition.
they keep this, they're going to get the character and do a good job with it.
Let's see if I remember this. I don't think I do. Someone asked
I do.
earlier.
Oh, I do.
I bet you do. Someone asked earlier. Girl at the piano asked, "What's the difference, if any, between directing voiceover for games versus anime?"
So for games, we don't have to match lip flap. You might have to match timing depending on like the client. So we didn't really have any of that with Y2K that you guys were like, this has to fit in 2 seconds. Most of that is games that are like done in another language first, and they like don't want to have to change the like programming, so they'll be like, hey, you have to fit this entire line in 3 seconds, because that's what the Japanese did or the Russian did or whatever. But that aside, like, you don't have to match something that's pre-existing most times. so there's more room to act. And I feel like Chris tends to sound as Alex like a very natural character. He sounds like a person talking. But in anime, like, you can't really pause where you want to pause, or you can't say things at a natural pace always. Sometimes it has to go really, really fast and then really, really slow because you're matching lip flaps. And that's a big change to it. And usually it takes more time because of that with anime. Like, you have to kind of match it in like a puzzle almost. And that can be tough. And you, with anime, we usually are referencing the Japanese, whereas with games, we're creating it. So, like, that's not as much of a... Like, we're trying to match a character that we've created together, or the client has created, depending on how it's being done, but we're not trying to match someone else's performance. I'm not trying to get someone in here to be Mamoru Miyano, or, like, Romy Park, or whoever you are trying to match in an anime.
Right.
And because of that, like, it's not as defined. And we can play a moment, like, it might have an exclamation point, and we might be able to be like, let's scratch that, let's just have them play down, you know, or let's actually make this moment angrier, or let's do this or that. What I liked a lot about working on Y2K was that Andrew was in the room for almost all of it that I worked on, and so we could talk to each other, and I could be like, what does this mean? Like, what are you looking at for this? And there's other clients I work with, especially clients that are working in games in different languages, and I'm like, hey, what are you saying here? This is like not exactly proper English, or like, are you trying to, is this like a new term you're making, or like, is this pre-existing?
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's one thing that is was the benefit of working together in a shared space, is that I could easily be like, Andrew, hey, this, instead of like trying to guess. My dog's barking, sorry.
Oh, don't worry, you might hear mine eventually.
You mentioned your casting pool, and I noticed something that was this. A lot of the cast in this are shared with the first thing it says that you've voice directed for Ladies versus Butlers. Was there? How was that? You know.
So the first thing I did voice direction for was I did like some things at my college, and then I did animated project, and then I did a different video game, and then I did Y2K, and then I did like co-directing on a project called Holy Night, and then I did Ladies vs. Butlers.
Very busy.
So that was like earlier casting pool where there was some overlap for sure, and there was also some actors in Ladies vs. Butlers that I didn't know at the time, or didn't have contact to at the time of doing Y2K, and then I feel like the biggest person who's in both, like, aside from myself, Michelle Knotts played a pretty big character in Ladies vs. Butlers, and she did a bunch of different things in
Great character.
in Y2K. Same for Damon Mills plays the Crow, and he was in Holy Night, and he was in Ladies vs. Butlers. So it was just like a earlier casting pool sort of thing. And there's some people that I had known forever. Like, I had known Anthony Sardina, who played Claudio, for many years, and I'd known Michaela for many years, who plays Chandra, and Clifford Chapin I had known for many, many years. And it's just so happened that they were all starting their own careers too, like starting to get more under their belt, especially like Cliff, who's now Bakugo. At the time that we did Y2K, like, I think he maybe was able to announce Connie by the time we started recording, but like, he was still pretty new in his career, so
Yeah, now
it's really
he's,
interesting looking back now.
He's redubbed Kaoru and Ava.
Yeah, which is crazy because he's a huge Evangelion fan.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I
but-
was. I haven't seen it
I mean,
in a
who
long
is it?
time, so I need to rewatch it.
So yeah, I feel like that's an example of my casting pool being smaller versus like now I have a much wider amount of talent that I use. And part of that is due to like getting to be on projects like Ladies vs Butlers or Y2K, where people then now know my name and like want to work with me or have sent me their materials, and meeting people more. So yeah.
Yeah, I actually took a little look at your portfolio while I was at work, and believe it or not, I work in a factory full of anime nerds. Yeah, no.
Oh my
Weird.
gosh.
Yeah, real weird. But they really like stuff like Black Clover and Doctor Stone, and and I basically told them like, yeah, I'm talking to one of the people who's been in like all of those shows. Brittany,
My
Brittany stays
husband
busy.
plays Chrome in Doctor Stone.
Really?
And I play Yuzuriha, so we have a lot of Doctor Stone merch in our house. Our booth has a hug pillow of both Chrome and Yuzuriha. And several of our friends who are in the show, we have several close friends who are in the show, like the actor for Senku and the actor for Taiju and the actor for Suika are all good friends of ours. And the actor for Ruri, and the director we know very well too. The director is Michael's actor in Y2K.
Yeah, and they all do a great job, or you all do a great job. Sorry. I haven't finished season 1 yet, but I'm about halfway through it, and I have really enjoyed what I have watched. Again, I don't have a ton of time to watch what I would like to, but when I get around to it, I do watch an episode here and there. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out what to do next. Sorry. Did you kiss the balloon? No, I didn't kiss the balloon. Well, no, I did kiss the balloon. I didn't know the answers.
Oh,
We can
I,
help you with the answers.
I
Yeah,
gave you
please,
the answers.
please help,
but
because
that's
I'm not
fair.
reading most of this stuff. I'm trying to like halfway speed run the game.
I think if I remember correctly, you can go from the bottom like 3, 2, 1.
I mean,
Okay.
it's just everything that Ackk is that Vella hates, basically.
Yeah.
The opposite.
I have to do it in
It's
Japanese
the opposite of
sometimes
Alan.
for testing, so I just remember it 3, 2, 1. I'm pretty sure.
I think that's. Was that up here? No, that was.
Right.
You said to the
Is
right.
that Jill over there?
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Yes.
true.
I fucking love Valhalla.
What is that game
I
about
asked-
exactly?
Oh no,
I asked Brian Quick if I could dub that game so many times.
Really
Yo,
should have let you.
Valhalla-
Like, my roommate is a big Valhalla fan, and he's always like, "Man, I just wish this game had voice acting."
No.
My girlfriend and I have cosplayed. She cosplayed Jill, and I cosplayed Gil, my favorite fuckboy. But Valhalla is great. I have 4 copies of it. It's basically you play as this bartender, and basically people come in, and it takes place in this like cyberpunk kind of dystopia, not really. But it's kind of people come in and tell you their stories, and it's a visual novel where the main gimmick is like you're giving them like drinks and alcohol, and depending on how drunk you make them, it will actually change like the events of the game. And I think the game has 6 different endings.
Okay.
So that's kind of thing. Like that's how you do your choices, and I think it's great. The characters are. I love the writing. All the characters are
Dorothy
likable.
was my favorite.
Oh, Dorothea is so much fun, and she's like a little problematic, but in like a good way. I love the hacker girl, the hacker woman. I forget her name.
I know what you're talking about. I
yeah.
had like an ideal cast in mind too. Like I have everyone cast in my head already.
I would love like an English dub of that game. And like every time I go to PAX, I specifically go because I know Brian as well, and like I just see whatever new demo they have, and every time it gets like delayed, I'm like a little dead inside.
So
Well, he knows where he can come to.
Hell
He's
yeah!
probably forgotten at this point.
I don't know.
do I need to
Yeah, there
remember
was
these numbers?
cameos from Read Only Memories, and then also Y2K in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Read Only Memories and Valhalla take place in the same universe.
Right.
Really?
Yeah, they do.
Wow.
And then
And Y2K is a game inside the universe of both games. So what does that say?
It's what?
Quite
Sorry.
a lot.
I said Y2K is a game inside the universe of Valhalla. So what does that say?
it's it's been remastered 6 times and went on to sell like what is the actual line? It's like something ridiculous.
Yeah, don't both games say that about the other game? Like, oh, this classic Y2K or this classic Valhalla.
Cult classic. Cult
Cult
classic.
Oh, my bad, cult classic.
I've had to correct people on that several times.
One thing, I know I probably brought it up on this stream a couple of times, but you know, now that we actually have somebody with some actual experience in both fields of acting and directing, I gotta say we've really come a long way as far as at least video game voice acting.
Mm-hmm.
Two examples always stick out in my head, and that's Final Fantasy X, which there were some awkward spots in that game as far as the voice acting goes, but they more or less made it work. And the other one is the other one is not the actor's fault. I think it was however they decided to direct those scenes was Zone of the Enders 2, the second runner, one of my favorite mech games.
I do love that game though.
It's a really good game.
It's a banger.
It's Dragon Ball Z with mechs in space. I mean, you can't really go wrong with that. But the voice acting it's like two people having a conversation in different rooms with a hollow wall trying to understand what the other person's saying. That's the best way I can describe that.
I really like the voice work in AI The Somnium Files. Both the
I
Japanese
still
and
have to
English
play
dub.
that too.
It's
Oh,
good.
someone
Play
did?
it.
No, I have it, and I love 999 and all that other stuff. So
Yeah, I've
My
wanted to play
husband's a
that.
big fan of the Zero Escape series.
super good.
Rightfully so.
There's about 4 of those games.
Anyway, hi, I'm here now.
Hey Cheryl.
Hey, Cheryl.
Yo,
And what's your name?
I am Cheryl. I do various things, but in the context of YiiK,
I might.
I made a battle theme, which was in 1.25, and also helped beta test the update.
And the title cards for
Oh.
the chat.
Oh yeah, and the title. I always forget I made the title cards because that's like such a minor contribution.
God.
JT,
Yeah.
go talk to Jill.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
It's a-
don't
the
be
double-edged
afraid.
sword. If you
don't be
know the
afraid to
game, you can't really speedrun it.
Yeah, just don't be afraid to say, "Hey, do the thing." I'm like, "Okay, thanks," because
There you go.
this is the
She'll
second
tell
time
you
I
to
played
do
that.
that.
She needs
Remember
something
it.
to calm her nerves. But
What's better to calm your nerves than alcohol?
could I just I guess a quick question, because I know that earlier you guys were talking about the binder, you know, when you
what'd you
guys
say?
were talking about like all the work that you did.
It's the sacred text.
Yeah, the sacred the scrolls, you know, for you. Like, was that like, because was that like your first time kind of directing something like that? Were you kind of winging it as you went along, or was it something that you like were kind of familiar with? Because like I really liked, you know, I want to hear more about that.
Well, it was definitely my first time working on something of that like size,
Mhm.
and like depth. Anything else had been much smaller scale when it came to directing, like
Mhm.
significantly smaller. Like a school, I did like a school simulation sort of thing, which was one of, I would say, super challenging because they had me working with business students and I had to have them be the actors in it, and it was like for use at my school as like an educational tool, and I'm like, no one's gonna be able to use this for education. These students don't know how to act and you're making me use them as actors. But that was like not as long. Like Y2K's script was like very long. I don't remember, was it like 200, 300 pages? Like something.
You look it up. It's huge though, and
It was
like
long.
And most
when I
of it
think
is
about
Alex
how
talking.
quickly I wrote it, like, and just like how many pages it was in such a short amount of time. It's wild.
Yeah, didn't you? I remember you said to me once that like you wrote the entire script over the course of like a few months.
Yeah.
Basically, we got funding in August and we recorded in November. So,
Wow.
which was definitely an amateur mistake. Like the game definitely should have had like 4 or 5 rewrites on it, but you know, we were sort of chasing this expectation. Like, you know, we built up the milestones with our publisher, but you know, we were stupid and we put the voice acting way too early. We should have done it later. We should have gotten text in the game first, gotten a feel for it, and done revisions that way. But you know, we did things in an amateurish order. So we did the voice acting very early on, which we also kind of needed to do, because if we had been trying to edit all the voice acting like right before we shipped the game, we would have never shipped it. So it definitely was a learning curve, definitely a bit of an amateur mistake to do it that early. But yeah, the whole script was written between like August and like late October.
Also,
Yeah,
maybe don't
and
pay
I
for
remember
music
getting,
before
like,
you
those
actually have fun.
updates.
Go ahead, Brittany. Sorry.
Sorry.
It's Discord.
I remember getting those updates of like the script too, and like reading it. And sometimes it'd be like, "Hey, actually, I changed it, and this is what I want to go with instead." And, like,
Yeah, you were the primary person also reading it while I was writing it. So obviously, like Brian was reading it, and Brian was, you know, discussing the story with me. But like, we had a hard time getting the rest of the team to read the script.
Is it just because it was so big, or?
Well, it was like we handed them homework. It was very big.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
But that's not fair though, because it
No,
wasn't.
it's not fair.
I was writing it. Like it was just like
Yeah, it was growing. Yeah, as they put it off.
You know, no one wanted to sit and read despite being paid like to sit there and work on the game. So it was definitely challenging to get feedback on it. So Brittany was like the primary person reading the script while I was working on it.
So she was like a major cog in the machine here, then.
You know, she,
Oh, yeah,
she also wrote it. She was the third brother. You know.
I feel like I didn't. I feel like I didn't give like heavy adjusts as much as like, oh, I like this, or like, what's this? Like, I don't understand this. Just like, but like nothing. Like I was like, I think we should make Vella do this here. You know. Like,
Ooh.
You never got in the way, which was nice. Like, you know, like you. There was a few times when you would be like, hey, this doesn't make it. This is too wordy, or this is weird. Maybe you should consider doing something different here. But you never had any like. You never wanted to write scenes for it.
no, it
You know,
was
you
more of like, hey,
knew what your job was.
or like, hey, I like this, or like, where this is. But I
think
feel
that
like
would
there
drive me
is
nuts.
like for all of us probably, because it was like such a big undertaking. There's a lot I would do differently today if I was given it.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt the same way when I was like looking at some of Ladies vs. Butlers recently, and I was like, wow, these flaps are terrible. I would never ship this today. Never.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, you grow a skill set and you learn. And one thing I remember we did with Y2K is when we were going over the voiceover options, I was like, well, like these are the different ways voiceover is recorded, and we decided that we were gonna do it ensemble style, even though that's mostly reserved for like prelay animation. And I feel like that was a huge thing to do, and while I would do it that way again, I feel like because of what we talked about with the script and the size of it and the amount of time between scripting and going to record, we should have given ourselves more time if that was how we were going to do it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it really was like it was an exhaustive 2 weeks of recording the whole script. And then like the week before, me and Jose had to build that giant whisper room and set up the whole like audio setup, and it was just like there's a lot of manual labor. Like that was a big whisper room.
Yeah, those things are huge. And the one you guys got too. And I remember you guys got it, and then Jose was like, maybe we should have faced the window on this side. Like one window,
Oh, yeah.
like the door window. We can't see them inside, so it was like we couldn't see the actors the entire time.
I think we had a webcam at one point, but it had a delay.
We probably could have all like spun that thing around. Now that I'm thinking about it.
We probably could have. There was a lot of sunk cost fallacy on the of Y2K.
I'm glad I can provide this space for you to reminisce.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's several things I would have done differently in terms of like the format, but I do think it was really cool that we recorded it all together, because then like these actors who were supposed to be playing like very close friends, and like or siblings, and they all like were pretty. I wouldn't say like they were new to voice acting, but they were newer to such long form in studio voice acting. Got to actually have partners in their scenes and actually like create a bond more with some of the people they were working with. And I think that was sort of like an invaluable thing where like by the end of it, like we all felt like buddies sort of.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
we've been playing buddies. And so like if you like went in to like the studio space where they were recording, like everyone was kind of like smiling and having a good time, and I think that was a good atmosphere choice on our part, even when things got like, oh, we need to do this line again, or we want to go through this scene again, like because it was a group effort, there was something nice about that.
Do any particular scenes stick out for you as having been hard to do or fun to do?
I remember the scene with Rory and the entity being really hard.
Oh my god, yeah.
Because we didn't have Ear of Wind there, I was reading all of Rory's parts. Yeah, because we played it like we read it as a scene, as if it was being performed as a play, you know. So I was like the stand-in Rory, and it was difficult, I think, to fully explain that part to the actors, like what, and make sure everyone was on the same page. And I think some of us had different ideas of the scene, and then Yuri came in so much later, and that just stuck out to me as a scene that was like
Uh-oh.
work on.
She's breaking up. Hey, can everyone hear me okay?
For everybody here.
That's just my end.
Did everybody else
Like,
have a spike there?
Yeah, things got weird for a little bit.
Okay, okay.
Must be Y2K.
So
I
it's
think I
not
hear you guys on
What's
that
my-
though.
not just me. Okay, good. Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that scene being challenging. I remember it being hard to sort of explain the concept of the soul space, and I remember that was really
Yes.
important to Melanie to understand what it was. And like
Yeah.
when something is both like a literal thing in a story and also metaphorical, like it's challenging to sort of like know which one the actor's gonna find more useful, what the metaphor is, or what it literally is in the game's universe. And I think like that was my second time ever working with actors, but the stuff I had done before had been much simpler, much shorter, and much more like movie dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely remember like a lot of times feeling like I wasn't explaining myself well. And then like you would come in and you would explain it, and I'd be like, yes, Brittany understands it. Brittany saved my ass. I feel like she was able to sort of like convey what I was trying to say there. And I think that's why it helped so much. She had read the script and we had talked about it so much before we recorded it.
Yeah, and I feel like that was so hard to convey to the actors, because like it's kind of hard to give your actors a script and be like, hey, you need to study up on all this, because one, like that's asking them for unpaid time to do a task.
Yeah, totally.
Like especially in voiceover, like in movies it's one thing because you have to memorize those lines, but in voiceover you don't. So you're asking them to do unpaid work, and then two, if you give it to an actor, like I tweeted the other day, like if you give an actor a spec, they're like as if it's like if you give a mouse a cookie. Like if you tell an actor you could use an accent, the actor's going to use an accent.
Right.
If you tell an actor that they can use a reference, they're going to do an impression. And I feel like if you give an actor the script, they're going to get in their head and pre-rehearse the entire script. And I feel like that was something we did with a few of the actors, where they asked for the script and we provided it. And then they kind of like determined by themselves what they wanted to do. And that's always really hard to reel them back and be like, no, actually, like, you are misinterpreting, or you have a different idea than us, and we want to go in this direction. And the actor's like, no, wait, this is the direction I decided. And I feel like that's one reason in voiceover you really don't get the script ahead of time. Now you kind of do with COVID stuff. Like, they want to make sure you have the script before your session, so you have it loaded up and, like, it's in your possession. I never really read it before my session unless they tell me, like, hey, just look over the script, make sure you see how many lines you have, or, like, what, like, give it a one-over. But I never do too much work on it because that's what the director is there for. And so Andrew and I had so many conversations about this stuff that we were dealing with, and the direction, the meaning of, and then the actors are coming in and either they have read the script and had a preconceived notion of what they thought it was, or they didn't read the script at all, and they were just kind of feeling around. And then, so I feel like we had some actors on both sides of that when it came to that scene, and then it was very hard to kind of dice it out, and it was such an important scene and an emotional scene too.
Right.
And finding that, like, what level of emotion is right for it, I don't know, that scene always sticks out to me. And I think partially because, like, I wasn't just reading it as Rory, I was, like, performing it, because I was like, well, we're doing a group record, like, I can't just, like, read it and then they have nothing to react to. So, like, I remember, like, performing that scene as Rory.
That's really interesting to me that, like, you were talking about, like, I don't read, like, you guys don't read the script beforehand, because I would imagine like it'd be kind of similar to, like, a movie where you're, like, acting out your lines.
Yeah, so in anime, like, for example, like, there's times I go in and I don't know who I'm playing until I get into the session. And then they just scroll to my line, and then we watch it in Japanese, and then I perform it. Like, it's a lot of cold reads. And, like, when I did YiiK, they gave me the script a little... What was that?
Did someone say East?
Yeah, I am in YiiK Monstrum Nox. I play Iris, and I play Xavier. And when I did those sessions, they gave me the script, like, a little bit early, like, so I would have it for my session the next day. So, like, they gave it to me the night before with my paperwork. And it's, like, this massive script. I'm not gonna go through and read it all. I just, like, set it up so I could find my lines.
I'm sorry, Brittany, hold on one second. Hey, JT, just
Thanks.
head down and go under the stairs.
I'm trying to let her talk as much as possible. Oh, damn it! How did I miss the?
Yo,
fucking...
you're struggling. You need help. You gotta ask.
Oh
Well,
my God.
he needs more time to show off the game, so he's slow playing it.
Yeah,
Oh, gotcha.
That's
The opposite
absolutely
of a
it.
speed run.
I just
Well
I
done.
hate to interrupt with the limited time she has. That's really all there is to it.
It's okay. It's okay.
All right. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Just that with even, like, video games where I got the script a little early, like, if I had done that in studio, I would not have gotten to see the script early. I would not have been, like, rehearsed. It would be just kind of like a director gives me a little bit of information, they play the Japanese version of the line, client gives me anything that they might want me to do as well. I do an A and a B, and then they decide if they want one of those takes or if they want to go for another read, and then they give me any direction on what that might be, and then I do another A, B, maybe a C, then we move on.
It's kind of
Whereas
interesting,
with
actually.
Y2K, we were doing, like, very scene-based work. And on another game I work on called Minotaur, which is also a narrative game. It is we did record actors separately, but we worked a lot more on, like, the scene work and, like, the nuance of it because it's so narratively driven, as opposed to being, like, quick quips or action. So Yeah, I feel like it really depends on who you're working with and what for. I did a class with Andrea Toyas, who does all the Blizzard voice directing, and she was talking about doing cinematics for Overwatch and how they would have in their budget to like sit down with the actors and like the writers, and they would all like talk about the piece and their emotional connection to it. She's like, sometimes we sit there for 6 hours just having like group therapy as we like discuss what we're gonna do with the piece. And like someone once brought up like, oh, like this reminds me of my relationship with my mother who's passed away, and like they're all like crying and they're like dicing apart what they want to do with it, and then they get into the booth and they record it. And I really like that idea of the approach of like creating the connection to it. I feel like that's closer to what we were doing versus some of the other work I've done as a director or an actor, where it's just kind of like very quick, like you just do this one and done sort of thing. And I think it's the difference between creating something like a cinematic or a very narrative driven piece versus, you know, you're just doing battle call because you're doing a MOBA, you know?
Yeah, like one is like you're like
Right.
involved, the other one's just like a I don't want to say it's
And
just
there's not
a
like
job.
there's less acting involved. It's, I think, less pre-production that involves the actor.
Yeah, there's like a difference between like just doing like, you know, grunts where you're like huh ha huh versus
Right,
like you know, the big emotional piece of your game.
Now, is Minotaur more of a visual novel, or what is that exactly?
It is a it's sort of like a visual novel. It has a lot of point and click aspects of it and puzzles.
Okay.
I love puzzles.
So it reminds me more of like, I didn't play all of 999, but it reminds me more of like a 999 sort of thing than like a visual novel.
Honestly, 999's like hybrid combination of VN elements and the puzzle rooms is something I really want to see more of.
Yeah, it's similar to that. There's like puzzles, and there's a lot of different endings depending on what you do.
What
And
game is this?
this is called Minotaur. It's a game I directed. It's on Steam. I can give you a link.
Right.
If you
Yeah,
want to,
that-
you can post it. You can post it in Twitch chat if you are there.
Oh yeah, we're all about shilling the games here.
Yeah.
On JT's.
Shill everything.
This is the shill stream.
you have any
And
favorite moments,
the
from
actors
YiiK?
for Alex and Alex and Michael are in this game. One plays Unter, who's a penguin, rock and roll penguin, and one plays Nod, who is a very depressed man. I'm sure you can guess who plays who. And then we have an actress who speaks only in Japanese, which was really interesting to work on.
Like he doesn't speak
And-
English, and you couldn't like talk with him and be like, you do this.
Well, she does speak English, but in the game, at least in the first route of the game, she spoke only in Japanese for like plot reasons.
Oh, like almost literally like near like we were talking about.
But the like text box that would show up for the player would have the translated dialogue.
That's
Do the
interesting.
reverse in Japan?
We didn't do Japanese voiceover for it, so it's
That's one thing
all
I
the
wish.
same.
I wish we had Japanese voiceover for Y2K, especially because of like, you know, the game's like slightly more popular in Japan, I would say, than it is in the US. So like, it would have been awesome if we could have done Japanese voiceover.
It'd probably be pretty damn expensive, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean,
they really do. Okay.
Is the game at least translated into Japanese? Like
it is, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it has a pretty killer localization from what I've heard.
That's good.
So, how costly is like localization type ordeals?
Localization is one of the cheaper things to because it's really just, you know, paying a localizer to translate the script, and depending on the region, if you're doing like South America, like it's really cheap because it's usually based on their sort of like standard of living. But localizing Y2K, it was one of the lower cost outsourcings, I think.
Okay. Just checking the chat real quick. I don't think I see.
J-Rake is proved. Yeah, definitely. If J-Rake does not become a part of Ackk Studios at some point in the distant future, I will riot.
I love J-Rake's work. They're super cool. The best.
Yeah, they have something going on. I can't remember what they said specifically, but I tried to talk with them about commissioning work for a project related to Y2K, and they said they have like a medical condition, so they're like unsure about doing stuff. So yeah, I don't really know.
That stinks to hear.
Someone says, or said a little while ago, what was it like working with Yuri of Wind? He seems like a cool guy.
Yeah, Yuri of Wind is super nice. Just really chill. We had like basically the same taste in music, so like we bonded over just being like super passionate about emo music when we were teenagers. Yeah, just really cool and easy to talk to. Got along with him very well. They were the only actor who didn't record with everybody else because due to like scheduling conflicts, we couldn't easily get him to travel to New Jersey.
Yeah, that would be pretty rough. Girl at the piano says, was the script for Y2K recorded in order?
I don't think it was.
I don't think it could have been.
I don't think it was.
I think we did all the narrations first, and then we did it based on which actors could be there at the time.
Yeah, so we did it like pretty out of order, I would say.
And that's pretty typical for most productions, if I'm not mistaken.
It is. Yeah, a lot of the games I've recorded have been pretty out of order. Especially because when you deal with stuff with like branching dialogue paths, or like you can do different quests at different times or different endings, like it just naturally would be that way.
Crap, how do I get... Oh yeah, that was the right door, shoot.
Do you have any favorite moments from working on, like any favorite scenes or anything like that?
Every single time that Chris Neosi, who voiced Alex, had to turn a page in the script, he would say, "Turn page, wash your hands." Like, every time. The amount of times I had to hear him say that.
Another pro for working digitally.
We have thousands of takes of him saying that.
Yeah, like,
really?
so many times.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was what he said every single time. He had
It's
to
a
turn
quote
the
from
page.
something, right? Turn the page.
I think it's from Rocco's Modern Life.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
He sounded
He
really
definitely is the person to just quote Rocco like that.
So,
Apparently we already got the piano.
JT, you want to go talk to her dad? I'm pretty sure you should have picked up the flute already, maybe?
Is he the dude that's like passed out on the stairs?
Laying down, yeah.
I just talked
Yeah,
to
the
him.
one who looks like budget Talon from Ocarina of Time. That you have to like Ocarina of Time.
You only had something to poke. Where the heck is the...
Oh, okay. You have to go to the back room, the room next to the back room, then.
The green door?
Door. Yeah.
Oh god, the pole flute, someone says.
It was mentioned
Hopefully.
earlier, just like in passing, and I mentioned it real quick. But I'm gonna take this moment to say, if anyone has not yet, you should play the East games. They are very good.
Yeah, I played the... they had re-releases of the first, like, 2 or 3 games on computer a long time ago.
Yeah.
Those were actually really fun.
I really like
I haven't
1 and
played
2.
many yet. I've played East 8, and it's one of my favorite games ever.
Is that the newest one?
No, 9 is the newest one.
Okay.
I'm still having trouble getting into 8 for some reason.
I can understand that. It's not like a hard. I wouldn't say it's a hard game to get into, but like you definitely kind of have to be in the right mood.
Before I like get into Yost, I still have to like finish actually playing like every Final Fantasy game and every like Dragon Quest game because I've never played any Final Fantasy games. I've only played 14.
Really?
Dragon Quest is good.
Okay, that's
I love
weird.
Dragon Quest. That's like one of my favorite series ever.
Start with 9.
I like, it was funny. My friend and I were just talking about 9. She does like amazing fan art of
9 is that's my
Yeah, you
favorite
can't
one,
go wrong
hands
with
down.
9.
Oh yeah, 9. I've heard really good things about 9. I'm not really as big into Final Fantasy as I am into like Dragon Quest, but I've played bits. I think generally like I'm one of the few people that actually prefers 1 to 6 over anything else, but I do like 9 quite a lot.
I mean, I would say that Final Fantasy IX has the best Uematsu music. Like it's him at his best. The best stuff he ever wrote is in that game.
Very good
Best
stuff.
Pairing of game content and gameplay with his audio is just it's next level. And like I think the only time he came close to replicating that was probably on Lost Odyssey. It's like nobody knows.
Just look up Kuja's theme, and that'll tell you everything you need to know about that soundtrack. That is one of the coolest songs ever written. It's actually my alarm for when I wake up in the morning.
Oh yeah, I just
I
left
have
my
my
alarm.
fantasy alarm now as well.
Yeah, I decided to wake up to one of the most aggressive songs ever written for one of the most horrible villains ever written.
I decided to go more peaceful. I picked something from 10. I can't remember what now.
I bet it involves a piano.
Just the default ringtone that came with my phone, just because like I have heard it so many times that I just have an immediate violent reaction to it, and it wakes me up every time.
That's my problem, but I want to break my phone when I wake up. And I don't think it's good for me. Waking up in rage isn't a good idea.
I don't know how many people here had the specific like version of Android that would require you to have this, but like it's like an unspoken rule in my friend group to like never play Morning Flower.
Oh yeah.
Just because of how many of us have heard it.
Oh, the do that one.
I think it might be.
Yeah, I just immediately changed that crap. My it's funny. My wife's my wife's freaking morning alarm clock noise is like in Earthbound when you go to sleep in an inn. There's
Yeah.
that song with the birds like right after you wake
Yeah.
up. It's that, yeah.
Okay.
So on the weekends I get to hear her hit snooze on that 150 times, and yeah, that's well in my head now.
I wanted to set my ringtone, or not my ringtone, my alarm to a song from Hollow Knight, but like I think every song in that game is too peaceful that it wouldn't wake me up.
I definitely recommend waking up to peaceful music. It has been an improvement for me.
Really?
Yeah, I've tried that before. The problem is that it just kind of blends into whatever I'm dreaming about. Like,
Yeah,
I
but
am
I
a
already
very-
had that problem anyway. I might as well
Very
keep-
heavy dreamer, so...
So I need to get the Earthbound song on my phone. Is that what you're saying?
that's another.
I don't know how many people here have played Jet Set Radio Future.
I have Jet Grind Radio, but not the sequel.
Yeah, so I don't know if anyone, even the people who have played Jet Set Radio Future, would remember, but there is a song in the game called Birthday Cake, and it's like an inside joke in that game's community because it has like really like loud and distorted like vocals, and one of my friends set that as his ringtone, or his alarm. So every time that song is like played, he just has a violent reaction. It's the funniest shit.
Actually ended up finding that OST on Spotify, so that's on my playlist.
Oh yeah, they have the Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio Future OSTs on Spotify, but I think it's only the Sega original tracks. Because most of the other tracks are licensed.
Now, speaking of games, while we have Brittany here, how much of a gamer are you, if at all? Like, I assume at least a little bit.
I don't have much time to play any games anymore because I spend so much of it working, and if I'm not working, I'm anxious about how I should be working.
Right.
Oh yeah, that big.
Dude, I feel that. Yeah.
ADHD anxiety. I feel that.
Yeah, so I My husband and I, in the beginning of the pandemic, we started to stream a little bit, and we played all of Persona 5 Royal on stream, which was really fun.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
And like we would voice all of the unvoiced dialogue, and it was a good little time. And then since March, every Tuesday, I would play Jackbox or Among Us on stream with a bunch of other voice actors, and we would rotate which channel we played on, which is always really fun. But even then, like, I just didn't have a lot of time outside of that to play games. I used to play a lot of League, and
old League.
Warcraft,
I'm
which
sorry.
I don't have much time for. We started playing Hades during the like power outages and internet outages we had in Texas last week,
Right.
and we got pretty hooked on that, and that's been really fun. And I have YiiK and I want to play it because it's my first time in an JRPG, and I've never played one of the games before, so I really want to see what that's like, but I just haven't had time to put it in and play it yet. And I have a lot of games that I just don't get to play. Like, I'll buy them and I'll play them for a day, and then I'll be like, well, wonder when I'll have time for that again.
That's literally the worst feeling in the world, because that was me with Yakuza 7 for like the longest time. Like, I played it on release day and was like, this is amazing. I will never play this again.
That is me with Yakuza 7 right now. I just keep wanting to play it and just don't have the time.
It's so.
I have a question. What does "me well" mean, Brian?
What does me well mean?
Where did that come up?
What's-
You have
the
some
context?
explaining to do, right here
On the
on the stream,
Oh, it's on the
Bathrobe.
mat.
on the mat. Yeah.
The bathrobe, yeah.
Well-
Yeah, I definitely made that.
What does it mean?
This
Okay,
is
well, I
the
can
biggest
explain.
mystery of yet.
I can explain my thought process. Sometimes I'll take something like the welcome mat, which says welcome, and I just moved the letters over and deleted one of them. And I don't know
I
why I
love
did
it.
it. I'm sure I did it as an Easter egg.
I love that. That's amazing.
It's just silly. It's just something
But then
silly
I
for
don't
someone to catch.
recognize or remember that I did it, so I'll just leave it in there. There's a lot of weird things like that in the game you can find.
Yeah,
I
we've
feel like
been doing that as we cross them, like in the record stores and whatnot.
I feel like that's like one of my like favorite but also least favorite things about like when you talk to game devs about like, why did you do this? Because like, you know how
Make
often
sure you
like
go in these stores, JT.
Because I'm meant.
you know how often like all the YouTube analysis, whatever, people like they'll go like super hard and they'll be like, oh, the reason that like, you know, you can't like fight properly at this fight is because like it's supposed to reflect this character, and then you find out it's actually something stupid. I think like my favorite example, there's this game, I think it's called like Love Struck or something like that, and it's basically like a space game, but I played it at MagFest, and none of the characters have noses, and me and my friend, we were just like joking around, like, you know, just being like, why the fuck don't they have and then I actually met the dev who made that game and told them that like, your game's great, I spent all day, you know, drunkenly playing at 3 a.m. at MagFest, why don't they have noses? And she just goes like, oh, like space smells bad, so no one has noses.
Oh,
And it's like, I'm gonna end it right now.
I just made this connection. Poke flute, poke flute. Yep.
Yep.
That's what that's supposed to be. Yep. Snorlax. Yep.
Did you not like pick up on that at first?
No, because I take things very literally the first time I play through stuff. Like, sometimes I'll catch it, sometimes I won't. Yeah, I'm a weird guy.
Wait, which did you think it was?
I just thought it was a flute you poke people with.
Well,
I mean, it is.
I don't know what else it would be.
Poke, the old poke flute from every Pokemon game ever.
Someone.
Yes, that
Yeah, you
when
spell that different, I think.
It's a little bit different, yeah.
E.
Just a little bit.
This is a legally distinct
Somebody
flute.
asked Brittany what YiiK character was the easiest to cast and what was the hardest.
Chandra was the hardest, and I think second hardest was Vella. And then I think think the easiest was, I think, Michael. I feel like we wanted someone with an energy like Yosuke from Persona 4, and a lot of people gave us Yuri Lowenthal impressions, and Cliff was just himself.
Yeah, I love Michael.
And I feel
We
like
know.
that was just like, okay, yeah.
Well, one of the
I
first.
think Claudio was super easy too, though, because Anthony was just perfect for the role.
Probably like
Alex.
Marlene voice acting.
Damon.
Damon, yeah.
Yeah. I remember we went through some like different versions of what that character would be like, but we knew we wanted Damon for whatever it was.
Marlene is one of the most interesting and strange characters in this game.
So, like, what were you thinking about, like, the characters when you were trying to cast them? Like, what aspects about their personalities led to what voices you wanted to pick?
I bet I could like find what I wrote. Let me see if I have them in my old hard drive. I uploaded.
That would be so interesting. I remember that Michael was obvious and Claudia was obvious, and I remember we had like 3 people who I thought were okay for Alex, but the only one who I thought was great was Chris, and a lot of that had to do with how well Chris handled the monologues. And you know, like Y2K is like the basic. The way I thought about it when I was writing it was a hipster asshole who thinks of himself as this like, you know, genius poet when he talks, and the way he thinks in his own mind is like he's trying to imagine himself in a Murakami novel. So everything is supposed to be written like how a hipster douchebag college graduate would like think about his life through the lens of having read too much Murakami. So I had read all of the Murakami novels, which I loved, and I had also listened to all the audiobooks, and there was like a certain rhythm that I wanted for the way that the voice acting would be done. And there was the guy who does most of the Murakami voice over stuff, Rupert Degas. There was something about the way he did it that I liked, that I was hoping someone could capture, and no one could do it. But then Chris had this different way that still sort of evoked that feeling, but he brought that sort of like douchebagness that I wanted for Alex, that I think just really worked. And like, I realize now, saying out loud what I just described, if I had pitched this to someone, they would have been like, hey, don't make that. But that's what I was thinking of at the time when I was working on it.
I found all of my audition packets.
Oh, nice.
So there was an NDA at the top.
Of course, yeah. Gotta sign
They
those.
had to agree to. Oh my god, the art for Alex is so old.
And different. That's
It
what
was
we gotta
very
look at.
different. Character description: Alex, 25, is a recent college graduate. His hobbies include music, video games, and novels that are too dense for most people. He returned home after graduating college as a super senior to find that adult life isn't exactly what he expected. When he follows a stray cat into an abandoned building, he crosses from his reality to one that closely resembles his own.
Oh wait, so you're saying that we didn't pull that out of our asses at the last minute and we changed the whole story of the game? Oh, that's interesting.
No, this was I could give you the screenshot print of this. Vocal description: narrative quality and cadence to his voice. He narrates his life in his head as if he's reading a book. Often, Alex is a straight man in situations. A good reference for his narrative style would be, and we gave a link that opened to, I think, someone reading a Murakami novel. Medium to medium low for his vocal pitch. Alex has 4 audition sides. Please read all 4. In the first side, Alex is speaking with Panda. The scene is basically... Alex is speaking with Panda. He is speaking for Panda. The scene is basically Alex speaking with himself. So they had to read for both Panda and Alex. Second side, Alex is speaking with party members Michael and Vella. Michael is an old friend, Vella is a new acquaintance. They're exploring a dungeon and learning about what Michael and Alex found last time they were in this chasm. In the third side, Alex is utilizing different attacks and battle cries. Imagine what characters would say while fighting and utilizing attacks. Include a variety of grunts and attacking sounds. In the fourth side, Alex is narrating, and it is a monologue about himself and what he's experiencing.
What monologue is it?
This links to a Dropbox link.
Let's see if it still works.
I wonder.
It does. I'll drop it in this link.
Is this something that we want to show on stream, or?
Let me take a look at it first.
Okay.
I wonder if it's something that will end up in the game or not.
It's all the different side copy. There's wow, yeah, the narrative portion is pretty long.
This one? No.
But I remember we were like, this is really important.
Oh yeah, this isn't in the game.
Oh no, this is not in the game at all.
But
Wow, yeah.
I have seen this before.
Maybe through data mining.
I think this was because we did these auditions before the script was done. These auditions went out in July of 2014. So that was before we started. This was like stuff I think Andrew wrote for the purpose of auditioning.
Yeah, to sort of like get the general
The
idea.
vibe.
Yeah, of the character.
Because I'm the GIF data mining master.
And that's actually what I do for auditions, even that I send out now. Is I'll tailor stuff. I'll combine lines. I'll take out certain sentences for like NDA reasons or flow, and I'll put things together that aren't necessarily actually there in the real thing. Or I'll create a line that actually isn't there, but it will be important for us to know if the actor could handle like a certain emotion or something.
Hey, this is definitely not in the game, but I swear I have heard this or seen this.
I think it's something that's in an earlier version of the game.
I think
might
some of
It
this.
is. It is. It's in the pre-alpha that Andrew uploaded to the YiiK score a while ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, real quick.
I think
where
some of this was
is-
from like the version that I played at PAX too, like a very early thing.
Where's the singer?
You just go talk to the guy at the front, and then Vella.
Okay.
The singer is in your party.
Oh yeah, dirt.
What did
Well,
you have?
Singer is sitting at the table, but she just refuses to do it.
What did you say?
What do you have for the other characters in your notes?
Michael, party member. Character description. Michael, 19, is a young man of high intelligence and quick wit. At the start of Y2K, he has recently graduated high school and has no plans for college. He has a semi-unhealthy obsession with conspiracies and the occult. When he isn't researching the weird, he builds computers. Michael was an early adopter of the internet. He and Alex know each other prior to the story unfolding. Vocal description. Michael is younger and is the glass cannon of the team. He has a dry sense of humor and is often cracking jokes. He can get really passionate about what he's talking about when it comes to occult. Guy next door kind of vibes like Yosuke from Persona 4, medium to high pitch. Michael has two audition sides. In the first, Michael is conversing with Alex. The two are catching up and joking around, but the attitude quickly changes when they begin to talk about recent events. The second side, Michael is speaking with party members Alex and Vella. Alex is an old friend, but Vella is a new acquaintance. They are exploring a dungeon and learning about what Michael and Alex found last time they were there. Lastly, please include a sample of battle cries and grunts.
I think you want us to listen to music.
That's back in my
Well, I have great news, everybody. I made it through Bella's Mind Dungeon.
Good.
Proud of you.
I think this stuff about Michael's audition, like the Michael audition sides, were in the game. I like can hear the actors performing this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty much 1-to-1.
Yeah, when you first meet Michael, right?
the-
Yeah.
Oh, so this is really interesting. Alex, Michael, and Vella arrive inside a chasm of space and time. This is their second journey inside of it. Alex and Michael first explored it on their own before meeting Vella. Vella is proving to have a superior knowledge to the environment, and they talk about the golden alpaca, which is funny.
That
Yeah, I
damn
remember
Oh,
alpaca
yeah, this was also in the pre-alpha.
Yeah.
just keeps coming up.
This is a little bit more like the dialogue from the vertical slice we made for PAX.
Yeah, that's what I remember. I remember, like, we had a clip of the pre-alpha or the vertical slice or whatever. Let me open up what I had for the female auditions.
I love tracks like this in games.
Okay, so also had a very similar first page. Vella, very different art style right here. Vella,
Yep.
24 plus, is a woman who represents everything that Alex is not. She is ambitious, a hard worker, clever, violent, and always has a clear image in her mind of the big picture. At the start of Y2K, Vella is not present in Alex's reality. When the version of Vella who exists in Alex's world dies, she is forced into his reality, where she learns to adapt to this new version of her life. When she first meets Alex, she is afraid to explain to him how she isn't from his reality. Serious, strong female,
no, damn
sarcastic, witty, medium pitched. Potential reference is Lenneth from Valkyrie Profile.
That's
It's a-
funny.
It's a game I always wanted to beat, but never got around to.
She has 3 sides, and we asked for the actresses for Vella to read for Essentia.
Did I just run backwards?
No, it's a timing thing.
Timing?
Oh, are you playing on the PC version?
Yeah.
Okay, tab out of the game and tab back in.
Oh my god. Teaching him hacks.
Speedrun strats.
The fuck? What do you?
Yeah, you can.
What are you
pretty
actually
much-
supposed to do there?
Well, you just
Uh,
wait for the song to be over because she's making you listen to the song.
Oh, okay, okay.
The whole point of the scene is she asks you to listen to the song, and I want the player to either enjoy it or get frustrated, and then sort of like see how, if they, themselves listen to what Vella asks to do.
Yeah,
It's a very
yeah,
Alex
you can
thing to just skip to the end.
pretty much bypass any timing event in this game by just tabbing out and back in. And no one here has any right to be mad at me for pointing this out because I pointed this out to Brian months ago and it's still in the game.
It's on my to-do list. Don't worry.
Make that the next thing. Just
Yes,
in
that's
spite.
all that 1.5 adds fixes the timing bug.
Yeah,
But,
1.5, nothing but that.
I still am not actually sure what that is. So I'd be very curious to see what causes that.
Did everybody here see the 1.5 tease that we put out yesterday?
I did.
I did
believe
stumble
I
upon
saw
it.
part of it before it even went up.
I just want to say no because it'd be really funny.
Nice. I'm gonna post the link and people can check it out. It's in the Twitter. It's from Twitter in the Twitch.
Okay, she's at the park, I think. But yeah, I
Dad
did
calls
stumble
one
upon
person,
that.
she's
I
at
did
the
stumble
park.
upon long-haired Alex. Looking like
yeah,
he's
I
being
think
tortured in a
Andrew sent
picture.
The picture of long-haired Alex to me while I was at work, and I just replied with something like "Alex unhinged" or something.
Oh man.
I'm like looking through all these old correspondences we had about Y2K's auditions, and it's so interesting.
It's a
Anything
pretty
in
interesting
particular
game.
stick out to you?
Just that, like, usually I don't send clients auditions until the end, but I sent to Andrew as we went, and he would put Essentia filters in all the Vella auditions and be like, "Do we like this, or does it sound like shit?"
Nice.
Yeah, Andrew can be kind of really straightforward about stuff
Oh,
sometimes.
well, no,
and
it's
you're
not
like
that
kind
you
of
said, "Do
surprised.
we like this, or does it sound like shit?" That's just me
whittling
whittling
Right,
down our
paraphrasing.
conversation, paraphrasing.
I won't judge you. I have come
Oh,
to
but-
understand
I will
I like
say,
that. Like,
things I know.
I like that every time, like we've talked about. Oh yeah, Andrew showed me something, and all we do is say, "Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's shit."
I mean, hey, that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
That's all he needs to know, yeah. I
Anything
can
else
second
is
that.
just decoration.
I do want to kind of go back to the scene that I apparently just skipped right through. That's kind of one thing I do appreciate about this game on a normal playthrough is a lot of the design seems to be around these kind of things, like where you actually have to sit there and pay attention and think about stuff. Where most games are kind of just I don't know if people have noticed, but the way I'm playing through this is look at hint, go to objective, do objective, and hope to find next hint. That doesn't always work. um, and a lot of that goes with the last dungeon as well. You know, just having to really pay attention to everything around you. And I'm sitting here trying to, you know, talk as well as play this and kind of get through it. So that's why you did see me get stuck a lot. So yeah, I would definitely, for anyone watching who hasn't played it, go buy the game, try it out. It's really good. And the people behind it are really smart. They have some really interesting design choices, I would say. You know, and I don't mean that like
Yeah.
sarcastically or anything. I really do mean it's interesting. Sit there and listen to the whole song. That's, you know, I wouldn't have thought to do that.
Speaking of like concepts and stuff, Brittany, was there anything like Y2K is a really wordy game with like a lot of grand concepts? Was there anything that was like kind of hard for you to grasp that you had to like pester Andrew about, like, hey, explain this to me so I understand what's going on, so then I could tell people what they need to do?
I can't remember anything specifically. There was so much that like I was getting as he completed and like we talked about in the moment that I feel like once we actually like had it all together, I didn't have as many questions because I feel like I asked them as we went.
Yeah, I don't remember there being anything that you didn't immediately understand. Like you understood like pretty much from the get-go what all the symbolism was, what all of um the general metaphors were there for, and how everything sort of fit into the story. It's like I don't think there was ever a time where like you were like, I don't get this.
Yeah, you seem
Yeah.
pretty immersed in it.
And I feel like a big thing for me is that like I came from a background of like just finishing my thesis, which was about Japanese film and animation as an expression of disaster and identity in Japan. And Japanese self is like a cultural consciousness or something like that. I don't remember the exact title, but what I did for that, like I was a history major and I did this like history media studies combo thesis where I sat down and I analyzed symbolism and metaphors and tone and mood and characterization and all sorts of aspects of anime, and then wrote like how it connected to historical elements. And like why do we see a lot of the same sort of themes in anime, and like what does it mean? um and so I just come off of like being really immersed in like identifying small like pieces of content and how it connects to a whole, and I feel like that helped equip me for working on this because there was a lot of similar things, and it's gone on to be just like a part of my process, where I feel like I'm trying to find those parallel thoughts, and I'm trying to find those like that the symbolism within things to try and bring to a whole the right message. And then as an actress, I always feel like um, I do a lot of visualization when I'm acting. If I don't have the visual element in front of me, like I can kind of like place in my head what I imagine the scene to be, where I imagine these people to be talking, and like in what environment it is, and like I just kind of like auto complete it in my head, which feels really weird explaining to someone when they're not me. Like when someone's like, "What's your audition technique?" And I'm like, "Well, like I just perform it the way I think it would be staged. Like I read this line and I'm like, okay, well, automatically without like writing it down, without actually like consciously doing it, I fit in my head where all the pieces would be, and then I perform it as if that's what I'm matching." Does this make any sense? Is this like getting really trippy and weird?
This sounds like like the thoughts of an actor, to be honest.
So like I've tried to explain it to some of my other acting friends and they're like, I don't get it. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you. But that's like what a lot of my process is, and I feel like when it came to Y2K and having read it all, I visualized in my head a lot of what these scenes might look like, and be like, and then I would see the game footage and be like, this is very similar to it. So I feel like I had sort of a same wavelength sort of thing
Mhm.
going on with it.
I have a kind of off-topic question for Brittany, if
Yeah.
I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
You were Rico in Made in Abyss, right?
I am Rico and Made in Abyss.
All right. Well, was it awkward having to do the arm scene?
The arm scene. So okay, well, first of all, like recording that entire series was done in a way where we were recording entire scenes at a time, and it was a chase method instead of a to beep method, which happens in different recording environments. So what that meant is that I would see the Japanese and I'd be performing at the same time as the Japanese, like with just like a little delay. So I watched the entire show before even recording it, so I knew the scene. And when we got up to what that was going to be, they were like, okay, we're going to do this entire scene now. And I was like, okay, my inhaler's in my bag. And they were like, what? I'm like, my inhaler's in my bag. If I need my inhaler, it's in my bag. So are we doing it? And they're like, fuck, yeah, okay, cool. Inhaler is in the bag, got it. we did the scene. So that entire scene was recorded without interruption.
Jeez.
We just went through and we did the whole thing. And I usually say to people, like, I can never replicate that because it was such a grotesque, in the moment sort of thing. And like the way I was breathing and the way it was placed and like the way I was just like emoting physically in the time. Like,
I mean, it's such a fucked up scene. Like, it's so different from anything else in that show.
We're talking about the arm scene at like the 4th level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's such a
Poison and the Curse.
I love.
Yeah.
I love that
So
show, man.
it was like really really intense, and I don't think I could, if someone was like, can you do that right now, I'd be like, no, because everything, like the way everything, like my body had to go through to experience that, and like the way I had to hold my body and the way I had to breathe and the way I was just performing it was very specific. And I'm happy with how it came out. Some people are like, I read comments on the internet, and you should never read comments on the internet, but I read comments on the internet
Never.
where they're like, you can tell that the English dub just like didn't care at all, and I'm like, fuck you.
Dude, that's literally
Because
the
like
most.
I literally was worried I was going to have an asthma attack because of the way I was like spasming my lungs to get it into the space it needed to be for that moment, and all the breathing and the screaming. And there was like maybe 2 parts of that scene that didn't fit flap, and we had to go back to and do like quick little pickups for, but otherwise like it was just one pass.
And take it from me, asthma is awful.
That's like the most cancerous shit though, just because like I just really hate, like you said you were literally in physical pain doing this, and then like especially when voice actors do that stuff, like the Dragon Ball Z guys, they talk about when they have to do those screens, like that's it, they can't work for the rest of the week, you know? And it's just crazy to me how much like work goes into that, and then you just have one guy on the internet just go like English bad.
Yeah, like when I've directed before at the place where they do Dragon Ball Z, I've worked at Okratron, and that's where we did the 2nd season of Galactic Heroes. Sunny Strait was in that, and Sunny Strait also is Usopp in One Piece, and scheduling him for his sessions in Galactic Heroes were so difficult because he was like, it cannot be within a week of my last Usopp session because I could not use my voice properly after a 2-hour Usopp session for a week.
Oh no.
Jeez.
Which is
That's
insane. And so we had to like schedule it really ahead of time, so we had enough buffer time, but like after finishing an Usopp session, but before doing his next Usopp session. And that's not that uncommon. There are plenty of people, like there was one week not too long ago that I called my week of trauma, where I had to do, this is like in January. In the same week, I had to do, if you know Higurashi, I had to do Satoko's breakdown scene.
Yeah, that's
and
a
then
good
I
one.
had to do 2 other scenes in different projects that were incredibly emotional. I can't say them yet because NDA, but they were like the level of Rico and the arm scene.
Oh my god.
So like I know I don't want to take up too much time because I know we're gonna be ending the stream soon. But like to kind of keep going on that, and you can stop me if you want. You're saying that like like voice actors like they do this high intense performance and then they go I'm out of work for the week. Like how is that like I guess sustainable if that makes sense.
Well, that's why there was such a big thing for unionization, and there was that big game strike because there's not all voiceover is strenuous,
Of course, yeah.
and not all voiceover is like you're screaming and you're hurting your voice and you can't work after that. Um, and if it is, like, you need to be really careful for your chords and be taking care of them, drinking a lot of tea, straw phonation, warming up, cooling down, etc. And that's why they had that strike because and the push for unionization for rates that were taking care of the actors more and would limit strenuous sessions to being 2 hours instead of 4 hours, or like 1 hour instead of 4 hours. And I don't remember the exact like negotiation that it ended up being, but also asking studios to provide a heads up that it was going to be a strenuous session so actors could plan accordingly. There's a lot of times studios wouldn't. Even now, like, I have to ask, I'm like, is this going to be strenuous? Like, because then I want to put it at the end of my week, at the end of the day, instead of at the beginning of my week or at the beginning of my day. So yeah, that's like a big concern, and there's a lot of people who they worry about getting nodes, or they have had nodes or vocal strain, and vocal health is a big concern in the community, especially as we're doing more and more games and we're seeing the long-term effects on doing a super high intensity game session, on what that does to your chords. And there's more of a push for unionization and getting people on healthcare and making people aware of what they're doing and limiting this sort of thing. And
Yeah, like you want to be like taken care of. You don't want to be like thrown around and abused, especially like how that's so prevalent in like every aspect of creative jobs.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have one more person who wanted to hop in and ask a question, and then after that, we're gonna look at the vinyl and this thing here. So, Robin, if you're there.
Yes.
You there, Robin?
Hi,
Okay.
I'm here. Yeah.
You had a question to ask?
Yes. Okay. So like, I like all the voice acting pretty much in the game, but there's one scene where I need to ask what was the reaction that everyone had in the room when it happened. It's the scene in the beginning when Michael and Alice go to Factory Hotel and they're running out. What was the reaction to everyone in the room when Michael's voice actor yelled, "Developed? This thing's digital, baby!"
I don't even remember.
It's supposed to be a joke, right? Like it's supposed to be over the top about the fact that he's got this fancy technology. I mean, like
right.
So I think we told him we wanted a big read on it, and that's what he did, and it's memorable.
I feel like it's also just like Cliff's default. Like, if you listen to Clifford Chapin and anything, like, he's fucking Bakugo. That man's a yeller.
Yeah, he's great.
I like don't remember specifically, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was just his first thing, and we were like, yeah.
Let's roll with it. Yeah. Enthusiastic.
I honestly don't remember though to say with certainty, but like I wouldn't put it past him to have just done it, and we all laughed and we're like, great.
Yeah.
Okay, you got your question in, Robin.
Now flee, get out of here.
Now leave. No. Okay, so Ack's got some splaining to do. What's this all about right here? On the.
This is the first screenshot from Y2K 1.5 that is out. This is from a new scenario that we've added. That I'm gonna drop a little bit of story information now. This scenario centers around Michael, and the room that we're in is Michael's dark room. And so you can extrapolate from that, but There's a whole new scenario around Michael that you get in 1.5, and this is the first little teaser of what Michael's dealing with.
Interesting, interesting. That explains the camera head man and everything. Yeah. Okay. And so that's not in the version I'm playing. That's coming out later, right?
Yeah. So we're hoping for only a few more months of development time on that. But there is another. If you look at the tweet itself,
Oh, let me go back to it. Sorry.
there is a little hint about the primary theme of the 1.5 story, which is about the concepts of original sin versus original win. And if you read the Y2K 1.25 short story that came with the concept album, you'll find out more about the concept of original sin. But what original win is, you'll have to extrapolate it from this tweet and the short story, or wait for 1.5.
Or just ask Hellkite, because he's probably figured it out by now.
One of the many Y2K fans who spend way more time than they probably should on the game. All right. And there it's right here. Here we go. Can I full screen this? Yeah, here we go. New merch incoming.
Yeah, so at long last, the much anticipated Y2K vinyl is finally happening. It's coming out March 4th, so just like 6 days from now. And it's produced by the Yeti. They did this really beautiful trailer for it. They have like this incredible artwork done by Illustrata, and
I saw the artwork like
that's so cool looking.
Revealed, and I was just waiting for it to be revealed because it's like my favorite piece of YiiK artwork.
That is really cool. I'm buying 5.
Does this have the song that Cassie did with you guys on it, or no?
Sapphire.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
yes,
it has.
Yes.
Cool. That's awesome.
I only remember people's internet names.
Handles. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know so many people call her Sapphire, and I forget that that's what I should probably call
It's
her.
a good thing. Pretty much all of my internet handles are just my actual name.
So basically, in Y2K 1.5, there's a very important new character whose name is Surreal, and her theme.
Surreal?
I thought it was Cyril.
I thought it was Cyril. But also, surreal makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it's a play on words.
Yeah, it's definitely surreal. Her theme.
You son of a bitch, ain't you?
Didn't think it was that funny.
God damn it!
There's a lot more like kind of puns in Y2K 1.5, so it's a different approach to
Just gonna put that beautiful thing up on the screen here.
But yeah, the song that Sapphire sings is the theme song for the new character Surreal, who's very important to the 1.5 story.
Very surreal.
Yeah, people like the art. Apparently, it's really good.
It's good.
I haven't seen any vinyls that are just not, that are any different really than just being like straight black discs. So this is really cool to me.
You did such a great job. And actually, I want to just let me say real quick what the track listing is and how we decided on it, because I think that's probably something people are gonna wonder about. So we went off the metrics off of the Bandcamp of what the most commonly listened to songs were, and then we weighted that against how much room each one took up on the record itself, because there's not a lot of time on them.
Right.
And if we did the whole soundtrack, it'd be insane. So the first, we've got Machine and the Crow, Name Your Friends, Frankton, Hipster Bound, Sammy Park's theme, Exploring the Wilderness, Alex Eggleston's theme, Onism 1999, the Mind Dungeon theme, which is an entirely new remix done by Bayon because the other one was way too long. So he was, gracious enough to make a whole new remix just for the vinyl. There's the Crow Battle theme, which is on there because it's much more prominent in 1.5 than it is in the current game, and because it was one of the most popular tracks on Bandcamp. Pushing Through, Windtown, the home of Rory Manser, Distant Voice, Chance Traveler, Little Eyes, Last Night I Dreamt I Found Her, and Soulmate, Soul Traveler, which is Surreal's theme.
I'm surprised that
a lot of
Pieces
music
isn't on it.
What was that?
Look
The
at
price of puzzle pieces isn't on the vinyl.
Same.
It was a timing choice because if we had done that song, we either had to cut it down or we had to like lose like 2 tracks.
Yeah,
Because the vinyl can only hold so much.
right.
I had mentioned this in the Discord, but the way Little Eyes goes into Last Night I Dreamt I Found Her into Soul Traveler Soulmate is amazing. I had listened to that. I'd like made a playlist of all the songs and listened through it. It's great.
Yeah,
I think
a
it's
nice
going to sound amazing on vinyl.
I mean, like Last Night I Dreamt I Found Her is like barely relevant. It was something that was thrown together for the trailer alone. But it was
Like,
we
one of my
had like
favorite songs from the game.
we had like
Um,
this small amount of time that we were able to fit in there. So I wanted to have a better transition between like the 2 vocal songs. So we put that in there.
Nice.
All right. Well, while we're closing out here, if you want to plug any of your social media stuff or whatever,
I already
feel free.
did that last stream, so
We'll do it again.
Yeah, do it again. You can never
Do it
plug your
again.
stuff enough. Trust me.
hang on. I'm just gonna
All right.
I'll
Well,
just
Not
drop
all at once here.
a Twitter link to my games.
don't everybody
Account.
jump at once.
Brittany,
Um,
what can everyone currently hear you in, and what are you currently directing, and what days did they come out on?
So I'm currently finishing up Akudama Drive, and episode 11 I imagine will release next Thursday. And they haven't announced it, but the trend has been every Thursday they've released a Akudama Drive episode. And you can watch that on Funimation. I am acting in Higurashi Go, which usually releases on Thursdays, but it's on a erratic schedule. The last episode went up last Thursday, episode 10. I play Satoko in that. I am in D4 DJ First Mix as Toa Hanamaki, and episode 10 is her first appearance, and that just dropped yesterday on YouTube. I'm in Dr. Stone as Yuzuriha, and that has been coming out on Thursdays, but the next episode has not been announced yet. Also on Funimation. And, I mean, there might be more things that I'm just forgetting, but, you can check me out on Twitter, and I usually share a lot of stuff.
East 9 is coming out.
Do
on
you?
other
What is
consoles
your
sometime
Twitter?
this summer.
My Twitter is at Brittany Lauda VO.
Okay.
And you also, in addition to doing directing on Akudama Drive, you also play a character, right?
Yes, I play Doctor, and she's very different from any other character I've played. She's this like sexy MILF lady.
I was so surprised when I was watching because I didn't want to look up who anyone played until I watched it so I could see if
I
I could.
still need to watch it. I'm gonna start it soon.
Yeah, I'm
So
gonna
wait,
start.
you're playing as the Doctor?
Yeah, I played the Doctor.
Hell
You-
yeah!
You completely kill it. It's so good. I was like,
Thank you.
it gave me an idea for something I want to try on 1.5.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, finally, YiiK will have its MILF rep.
There we
Thank
go.
God.
Yeah,
I'm.
and I'm in Gundam Battle Operations 2 as Katarina, if anyone plays that in the English dub, or Shadowverse / Grand Blue. I play 3O.
Shadowverse?
Which one was you mean the fighting game, right?
Not Grand Blue Versus. I'm her in Shadowverse when the Grand Blue.
Oh, okay, yeah,
expansion, but
yeah.
she's not in Versus.
Just
Hopefully she
like
gets
doing-
added. That'd be fucking rad.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
But yeah.
I'm sorry, Hotline Hideout. I don't. This is mom as a MILF.
Were you gonna plug your stuff, Allie?
Yeah, I'm 6 pounds of shrimp for 99 cents. I do animation. Yeah,
It's a
I like my
mouthful.
name because I like my name because people will call me shrimp and I'm like, oh, thanks. But anyway, I do animation, just like some stuff, and I make art, and just plugged my Twitter into the thing. So if anybody wants to check me out, feel free. You'll just see art and then me retweet like a bunch of dumb stuff, and then horny likes, obviously.
All right, and Ackk, as always, you can follow them at Ackk, I'm sure, or Ackk Studios. Sorry.
Yeah, at Ackk Studios, Y2K is on Game Pass. It's on Steam. 1.25 is coming to consoles very soon. Hopefully, it'll be on Switch within the week. No promises about that, but it looks like things are moving forward there. And then PS4 pretty shortly after. We're working on that now.
And Game Pass is a great way to just try it out if you already have, Game Pass. So,
Might as well. It can't hurt, right?
right, exactly. Is that everybody? I think.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
Christ,
Hellcry.
fun. Good stuff.
I talk about YiiK way more than I probably should. And you can find me on Twitter at Hellcry.
All right.
Is it at
And
Hell? Is there at Hellcry? I thought it was something else.
The other is for my business that I haven't been doing much of yet.
that I hope he knows his tags.
Okay, yeah, no, it is Hellcry. Yeah,
Excuse
just
me.
a dumbass.
Sorry.
Should I promote
And
my Twitter too?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm Robin and I make things. My @ is Robin_MOT.
He makes things and stuff. And as always, I stream usually on Tuesdays, but we've had to change the last couple of weeks due to scheduling with Brittany here. Again, that's not a problem. But usually I stream on Tuesdays, sometimes on the weekends. You can find me on Twitch, Trovo, DLive, and YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter and every other social media in existence. Just search up JTB Plus and like literally just Google the name, you'll find all that stuff. So yeah, that's I think we're gonna call it here. It's gonna wrap up.
Hey, Brittany, thanks for doing
Tuning
with us.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
That was great having you. Great having everybody as usual. Till next time.
Alright.
Probably gonna be Tuesday next time, but I will update on Twitter as need be.
Y'all always pick the days I'm working. Can't believe this.
I don't know
This
your
is terrible
schedule.
discrimination.
Anyway,